Hello, my name is Megan Sellman, and I'm a dancer, color guard instructor, and senior at the University of Washington. I'm so excited to be presenting my research today on dance and color guard educational programs. So what is color guard? Color guard is a performing arts activity involving four major components. There's flag, which is a 6-foot metal pole with a fabric silk. Rifle, which is a wooden prop rifle with a leather strap. Saber, a dull and curved metal blade with a hilt. And dance, which is used throughout performances on its own or underneath equipment. Color guard as a whole exists within a few settings, most recognizably alongside high school or college marching bands. These are field shows, typically performed at football games, as well as in competitive marching band circuits. The national circuit is governed by Bands of America, an organization that regulates rules and competitive criteria. Drum and Bugle Corps is another setting for field shows. Governed by Drum Corps International, it is a nationally competing circuit composed of independent drum corps whose members range from 14 to 22 years old and tour the country performing shows every summer. However, field shows are not the only environment for color guard performance. Winter Guard was formed in the late 1970s as an opportunity for color guard to compete independently from marching band. It is governed by Winter Guard International, and instead of performing on football fields, Winter Guards perform in basketball gyms and arenas. In all three settings, competition is the consistent factor. For the purpose of my research, I decided to refer to the WGI rules as a framework for understanding the role of dance in color guard. Performances are evaluated through four categories, otherwise known as captions. The movement caption evaluates dance, the equipment caption evaluates flag, rifle, and saber, general effect evaluates a performance's concept, production value, pacing, and other effects, and design analysis evaluates a performance's logic, musicality, transitions, and nuance. Each of these captions have subcaptions of composition and excellence. Composition refers to what the coaches have choreographed, and excellence refers to how well the performers are executing it. These subcaptions are further divided into specific criteria pertaining to the overall caption, providing a detailed and expansive evaluation system. I have been involved with this activity for 8 years. I started in high school marching band, where I went on to march 5 years of drum corps and 2 years of independent winter guard. I've been teaching for the past 5 years, specifically working on dance instruction. Before I started color guard, I was a dancer, and I always thought that my dance background significantly helped my understanding of guard and enhanced my overall experience. Reflecting on my experience in both the dance and color guard worlds, I realized that my dance education was much richer in dance studios than it was in the color guard environment. After studying dance and education at the University of Washington, I started to believe that there may be something lacking in the color guard dance instruction that is preventing the color guard experience from being as full and holistic as it could be. So what I decided to do was gather relevant ideas surrounding the role of dance in color guard programs. With that as a foundation, I conducted 4 semi-structured interviews with seasoned color guard instructors. I asked them how they personally view the role of dance in color guard, how they integrate dance into their programs, and about their teaching career and practices. I thematically analyzed their responses and began to connect them to educational theories that I have studied during my time at UW. The first connection involves dance technique and instruction within color guard programs. It is very common for instructors to teach a list of set technical dance exercises and repeat these same exercises throughout the competitive season. It is really efficient to use this strategy, especially when the season picks up and instructors want to use their rehearsal time to work on choreography instead of technique. However, it may not be as effective in training performers to be well-rounded movers. Bryant J. Craddy introduces the idea of inhibition when discussing motor skill practice. Inhibition is a negative psychological force that can occur when the ability of the learner and complexity of the task are askew. It creates a boredom, aversion, or resistance to the task. He states, "A task may initially seem complex and thus challenging to a learner, but after they begin to master it, it becomes less interesting and inhibition builds up." I believe this is occurring in many programs who utilize repetitive set exercises throughout the course of each competitive season. Once performers start to master the exercises, they begin to mentally check out and begin to plateau in excellence. a potential solution suggested by research on motor skill learning, as well as by one of my interviewed instructors, is to supplement dance instruction with variety. Simply rearranging the sequencing of skills or changing pathways or facings can provide a stimulating mental challenge for performers to re-engage and improve their dance training. The next connection highlights the relationship of the body to equipment. Both the movement and equipment captions evaluate the skill of blending shared responsibilities between the body and equipment. As an instructor of beginning color guard performers, I can attest that this is one of the most challenging skills to begin to acquire. Now, learners, especially beginners, have a limited capacity for attention and can easily experience information overload. This is an idea discussed by Rebecca Enghauser in her research on motor learning and dance technique. Color guard performers are asked to keep track of their equipment, their bodies, the music, the relationship to space and other performers, and it can cause quite a bit of information overload. One strategy for combating this overload is to have beginning performers use swing flags. Instead of a 6-foot standard pole, swing flags are 2 silks on smaller and thinner poles that provide fewer choreographic options but rely on body contribution to be more effective. Swing flags are not very popular in the color guard community because they're seen as less technical than the standard flag. However, due to the reliance on performers' body contribution, they might be the perfect tool to scaffold the skill of blending body with equipment. Performers can build up their confidence as a dancer underneath their equipment that can be transferred to the standard flag, rifle, and saber, leaving more cognitive capacity for the technical responsibilities of those other pieces of equipment. When interviewing instructors, many made comments referencing an untrained or superficial performance quality that many color guard programs struggle with. It presents itself in performances as disembodied limbs in movement, pasted-on smiles, and a general disconnect from the fluidity of the spine. I suspect that this is due to the role of competition and the tight schedule it forces programs into. There is a significant virtue of synchrony that is ingrained to the core of this activity. However, the race to perfect this synchrony could be limiting performers' accessibility into an embodied, genuine, and expressive performance. Performers are trained to know every spatial checkpoint for virtually every count of their performance, which often leaves behind an exploration of expressivity from the inside. That said, synchrony does not void expressivity. There's something very beautiful about watching an ensemble move perfectly together. But it's about how performers are guided into that synchrony that can elevate and deepen the performance quality. Thinking about color guard instruction in this way reminded me of Paulo Freire's banking concept of education. He observed that it was the teacher's task to narrate ideas and students' task to memorize and regurgitate ideas without thinking critically. He states, "It turns the students into containers, into receptacles to be filled by the teacher." We are approaching color guard instruction in this way, instead of recognizing, valuing, and nurturing the whole human beings that are in front of us, supporting their journey into expressivity. I think the root of this is in our pedagogy. In our activity, there's an emphasis on content knowledge over educational experience, as evidenced by the numerous educational resources for instructors that discuss performance design instead of educational praxis and pedagogy. Another example is the detailed competitive criteria that outlines expectations for an end product, but nothing about how instructors can help their students achieve it. As instructors, we need to focus more on a performer's educational experience and how we can facilitate it, as it is an opportunity to enrich our programs within and beyond the competitive focus. This is possible by bringing educational philosophies into the training environment of color guard. I believe that this should start with a more attentive, diverse, and expansive approach to dance instruction, and one that centers the performer's experience. I believe this research can be applied to many other pageantry arts and performance groups, such as marching band and indoor drumline. Especially due to the brief COVID-19 pause in the competitive sphere, it is the perfect time for instructors and organizations to reevaluate their educational philosophies and praxis. Thank you so much for being here today.